I was always the afterthought in my family. As a 29-year-old art curator in Boston, I had built my own life away from my parents' expectations. My relationship with my sister Amanda was complicated, supportive, but strained by our parents' obvious favoritism. Nothing could have prepared me for that fateful dinner when my parents casually slid a folder of medical results across the table announcing I was the perfect surrogate candidate for Amanda. Their smiles never faltered, as they explained how they had arranged everything for me already. Before I tell you how my parents betrayed my trust in the worst possible way, drop a comment about where you are watching from and subscribe to hear more true family stories that will leave you shocked. Growing up in suburban Chicago, my childhood was defined by impossible standards. My father Thomas commanded respect as one of the top hospital administrators in Illinois, while my mother Catherine built her reputation as a meticulous pediatrician. Our home functioned like a well-oiled machine, with achievements celebrated and failures scrutinized under their critical gaze. From an early age, I understood my place in the family hierarchy. My academic accomplishments were expected, not praised. My interest in art was tolerated as a hobby, but discouraged as a career path. When I received my acceptance letter to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, my father barely looked up from his newspaper. My mother spoke first that day, words I will never forget. Art is not a sustainable career, Iris. Medicine is how you make a difference in this world. That night I heard them discussing my poor life choices through the thin walls of our pristine colonial home. I decided then that I would forge my own path, with or without their approval. Amanda, 4 years, my senior, was everything my parents wanted. She excelled in biology, chemistry, and every science course offered. She followed our parents' footsteps into medicine, without hesitation graduating at the top of her class and specializing in obstetrics. The pride in my parents' eyes during her medical school graduation burned into my memory, a look I had never received. Despite the clear favoritism, Amanda and I maintained our bond through carefully navigated conversations and shared childhood memories. We competed for our parents' affection, but supported each other in quiet ways. When I moved to Boston against our parents' wishes to pursue my career in art curation, Amanda sent me a care package with a handwritten note. Be happy, that is enough. Amanda met Michael during her residency. He was a brilliant neurosurgeon with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor that balanced my sister perfectly. Their wedding was the social event of the year in our family circle, with my parents sparing no expense to celebrate their golden daughter. I served as maid of honor, genuinely happy for my sister, while swallowing the bitter pill that my own life choices would never receive such enthusiastic support. 3 years ago, Amanda received devastating news. She was diagnosed with a condition that severely impacted her fertility. The irony was cruel. A woman who delivered countless babies might never carry her own. I watched from the periphery as my parents rallied around her, offering specialists, experimental treatments, and unwavering support. I sent flowers and called regularly, but maintained the geographic distance that preserved my sanity. Last summer, I returned home for Amanda's 33rd birthday. The atmosphere felt different immediately. My father carried my suitcase upstairs without a single comment about my recent exhibition or career choice. My mother actually asked questions about my gallery and seemed to listen to the answers. The shift was subtle, but noticeable, like walking into a familiar room where all the furniture has been moved an inch to the left. During the birthday dinner, my father stood to make a toast. To my 2 incredible daughters, he said, raising his glass. Amanda healing lives through medicine, and Iris enriching lives through art. Your mother and I are proud of you both. I nearly choked on my wine. Equal praise for both daughters was unprecedented in our family dynamic. That night, Amanda and I stayed up late talking on the back porch swing like we did as teenagers. She confided that multiple fertility treatments had failed, each one more emotionally devastating than the last. All I have ever wanted was to be a mother, she whispered, tears reflecting the porch light. I feel like my body is betraying me. I hugged her tightly, promising that she would be a mother somehow, some way. In that moment, I truly believed our family was healing, that we were finally moving beyond old patterns. I returned to Boston feeling genuinely optimistic about our future as a family. 2 months later, my parents called to invite me for a special family dinner the following weekend. Something in my mother's voice sounded rehearsed. but I dismissed my suspicion and booked a flight home. I should have trusted my instincts. When I arrived at my parents' house that Friday evening, I immediately sensed something was off. The dining room was set, with the good china we only used for important occasions. My father poured wine with unusual generosity, and my mother kept touching my shoulder every time she passed my chair. The biggest red flag was the presence of Dr. Jenkins, my parents' longtime colleague and our family physician since my childhood. He nodded stiffly when I entered, avoiding direct eye contact in a way that made my stomach tighten with apprehension. After an uncomfortable dinner filled with forced small talk, my father cleared his throat and nodded to my mother. She reached beside her chair and produced a leather portfolio folder, placing it on the table with deliberate care. "Iris, honey," she began, "we know how much you love your sister." My father jumped in. "Amanda and Michael have tried everything to have a baby. The specialists have confirmed that while Amanda cannot carry a child, her eggs are viable with proper hormone treatment. What they need," my mother continued smoothly, "is a surrogate." I felt a chill spread across my skin as Dr. Jenkins finally spoke. "The tests show you are an ideal candidate, Iris. Your health markers are excellent, and as a biological relative, there would be fewer complications with the surrogacy process." My brain struggled to process his words. Tests. What tests? My father slid the folder toward me. Inside were comprehensive medical reports, blood work, hormone levels, and genetic screenings, all with my name at the top. Tests I had no memory of undergoing. "When did I have these tests done?" My voice sounded distant to my own ears. "Remember your annual physical 3 months ago?" my mother asked casually. The realization hit me like a physical blow. My routine checkup with Dr. Jenkins when I was visiting for Amanda's birthday. They had used that opportunity to run extensive surrogacy compatibility tests without my knowledge or consent. "You had no right," I whispered, hands shaking as I flipped through page after page of my most private medical information. My father leaned forward. "Iris, Dr. Jenkins needed additional tests beyond your routine physical. We simply expedited the process." "Expedited?" I echoed in disbelief. Dr. Jenkins shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Your father assured me you had discussed this as a family, and you had verbally consented to the additional screening. As hospital administrator, he processed the paperwork." I flipped to the last page and froze. There was my signature on the consent form, authorizing the full spectrum of fertility and surrogacy compatibility tests. Except I had never signed it. "You forged my signature," I stated flatly, looking directly at my father. He had the audacity to look offended. "I simply removed obstacles. This is a medical necessity for your sister. A medical necessity for me to become a surrogate without my knowledge." My voice rose despite my efforts to remain calm. "It is just 9 months, Iris," my mother interjected. 9 months to give your sister the greatest gift possible." The door to the dining room opened, and Amanda entered with Michael trailing behind her. Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. I realized with growing horror that they had been listening from the next room waiting for this moment. "Please," Amanda whispered, taking the seat across from me and reaching for my hands. "You do not know what this means to me." I pulled away, standing so quickly. My chair scraped loudly across the hardwood floor. "You were all in on this." This ambush. Michael at least had the decency to look ashamed, staring at the floor rather than meeting my eyes. "Do not you want your sister to be happy?" My mother expert manipulation cut straight to my core, targeting the guilt I had carried throughout my life for not being the daughter they wanted. Amanda began crying softly, theatrical tears I recognized from our childhood disputes. "I have tried everything, Iris. Everything. This is my last chance. I need time to think," I managed to say before walking out, my legs unsteady as I made my way to my old bedroom. Behind me, I heard my mother hissing at my father about handling this wrong, and Amanda sobbing dramatically. Over the next week, the pressure became relentless. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from my parents. My mother sent links to heartwarming surrogacy stories. My father emailed detailed compensation packages as if this were a business transaction. Amanda took a different approach, texting daily ultrasound images of empty wombs with captions like, "This could be full with your help," and "Just imagine your niece or nephew growing here." The emotional manipulation was both obvious and effective, tugging at the lifetime of conditioned guilt I carried. Then, extended family members began calling one by one. My Aunt Susan from Milwaukee Cousins. I barely spoke to even my grandfather from his retirement community in Florida. All with the same message: family helps family. During a call with my grandmother, the truth slipped out. Your parents told us about how you selfishly refused to help your poor sister, she said, her disappointment clear even through the phone. I always thought you were a giving child, Iris. I pray you will change your mind and give me a great-grandchild before I die. The realization that my parents had weaponized our entire extended family against me felt like another betrayal. They had painted me as the villain, the selfish sister, who refused a simple sacrifice, carefully omitting the details about forged documents and violated consent. With each passing day, my anger and sense of violation grew alongside the pressure from all sides. I stopped answering calls from family members and threw myself into work at the gallery, trying to process the magnitude of what my parents had done. 3 weeks after the disastrous dinner, I returned to my apartment after a long day at the gallery to find my parents' car parked outside. My heart sank as I climbed the stairs to my third-floor unit already, knowing what awaited me. I opened my door to find my parents Amanda, Michael, and 2 of my aunts sitting in my living room as if they belonged there. My mother had clearly used her spare key, the one I had given her for emergencies only. Surprise, my mother said with forced cheerfulness. We thought it was time we all talked in person. My father stood beside a portable projection screen they had somehow transported from Chicago. We have put together a presentation that addresses all your concerns about the surrogacy process. Amanda approached with a gift-wrapped box. Open it, she urged. Inside was a beautifully bound portfolio containing nursery designs, color swatches, and furniture selections. The cover page read, "For when you carry my baby," in elegant calligraphy. I thought we could set up the nursery here, Amanda explained, pointing to my second bedroom that I used as a home office. So you can bond with the baby while we visit every weekend during the pregnancy. The presumption left me speechless. They had invaded my home and were carving up my space, my body, and my future without a shred of consideration for my consent. I have already spoken with the director at your gallery, my father added casually, laying the groundwork for your medical leave next year. You did what? My voice was barely audible. Just preliminary discussions, he said dismissively. Nothing official yet. Something inside me finally snapped. Years of being the family afterthought, of swallowing my feelings to keep the peace, of prioritizing everyone else, wishes over my own, all came crashing down in that moment. Get out, I whispered, then louder. Get out of my apartment right now. Iris, my mother began in her placating doctor voice. You are being dramatic. Dramatic, I laughed, a harsh sound I barely recognized. You forged my medical consent forms. You ran tests on my body without permission. You told our entire family I am selfish for not immediately agreeing to serve as an incubator. And now you have invaded my home and contacted my workplace. And I am being dramatic. It is just pregnancy, my father said dismissively. Women do it every day. Not without their consent, I shouted, years of repressed rage finally breaking free. And you know what? I am terrified of pregnancy. Absolutely terrified. The room went silent at my confession. Remember when I was 15, and you took me to observe births at your hospital, Dad? To witness the miracle of life, I watched a woman hemorrhage on the table. I heard her screams as they fought to save her. That day gave me nightmares for years. My mother crossed her arms defensively. You never mentioned that. I did, to my therapist. The one whose records you apparently accessed illegally because you knew exactly what buttons to push to manipulate me. My father paled slightly, confirming my accusation. Amanda stepped forward. You never told me you were afraid. Would it have mattered? I asked, looking directly at her. You have never once asked what I want or how I feel about any of this. None of you have. You have always been selfish, Iris, my mother said coldly. Always thinking of yourself first. And you have always been controlling and manipulative. I countered, a lifetime of suppressed truth, finally emerging. Using guilt and shame to get what you want. My father tried a different approach. Iris, there are financial considerations you may not be aware of. The family trust has provisions about family obligations. Are you threatening to disinherit me if I do not become Amanda's surrogate? I asked incredulously. His silence was answer enough. Michael, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. This has gone too far, Thomas. I cannot support forcing Iris into this. Amanda whirled on him. Whose side are you on? The side of basic human decency, he replied quietly. We want a child, Amanda, but not like this. My Aunt Patricia stood awkwardly. Perhaps we should give Iris some space. No, I said firmly. You all need to leave now and do not come back. What you have done is not just unethical, it is illegal. Forging medical consent is a criminal offense, Dad. Accessing my therapy records violates HIPAA laws, Mom. My father's expression darkened. You would not dare report your own family. Try me, I challenged. Now get out of my apartment before I call the police and report a breaking and entering. One by one, they filed out my mother, pausing at the door. You will regret this, Iris. Family is all we have in this world. No, I replied, surprising myself with my steadiness. Family should be people who respect and love you unconditionally. You have shown me neither. I closed the door behind them and slid to the floor, shaking with adrenaline and emotion, but also feeling an unexpected sense of liberation. For the first time in my life, I had stood up for myself against my family and defended my own boundaries. The cost was enormous, but in that moment, I knew it was necessary. The next morning, I contacted the hospital ethics board with evidence of my forged consent forms. I reported my father HIPAA violations in accessing my therapy records without permission. I changed the locks on my apartment and blocked my parents' numbers. The aftermath was swift and severe. My father was suspended pending investigation, his prestigious position no longer shielding him from consequences. My mother faced review by the medical board for her role in the deception. Amanda initially allied with our parents, sending scathing messages accusing me of destroying the family. Michael, however, reached out separately to apologize. I should have spoken up sooner, he wrote. I never agreed with their methods, but I was focused on Amanda's happiness at any cost. I see now how wrong that was. Our extended family fractured along predictable lines. Those who had always feared my parents' influence supported me quietly, while others condemned my disloyalty. My grandmother once, she learned the full truth from my Aunt Patricia, called to apologize for her role in pressuring me. I did not know, child, she said, her voice frail with age and regret. No one should be forced to use their body against their will, not even for family. I found a therapist specializing in family trauma and began the painful process of examining the patterns that had shaped our family dynamic for decades. The work was excruciating but necessary, helping me understand that my parents' behavior went far beyond normal family pressure into the realm of abuse. In the months that followed, I rebuilt my life with intention and clear boundaries. My gallery director, far from being upset about potential medical leave, was supportive and understanding when I explained the situation. She offered me increased responsibility, organizing our upcoming exhibition on bodily autonomy in contemporary art, a project that took on profound personal significance. I cultivated deeper relationships with friends who had shown me what unconditional support truly meant. My colleague Jasmine opened her home to me during the hardest days, providing wine, wisdom, and a judgment-free space to process my grief. My friend Anthony himself, estranged from toxic parents, became a steadfast ally in navigating the complicated emotions of family separation. Together, they formed the core of what I began to recognize as my chosen family people, who accepted me completely, without demanding I diminish myself to earn their love. 6 months after I had cut contact with my parents, I received an unexpected message from Amanda. Her marriage to Michael had survived, but changed dramatically as they processed the fallout from our family implosion. She requested meeting for coffee during an upcoming medical conference in Boston. We met at a neutral location, both nervous and guarded. The sister I saw across the table looked different somehow, her polished exterior showing cracks of vulnerability I had rarely glimpsed before. Michael and I are pursuing adoption, she said after our initial awkward small talk. We have connected with an agency that specializes in open adoptions. That is wonderful, I replied sincerely. You will be a great mother. She twisted her napkin anxiously. I owe you an apology, Iris. A real one, not the kind our parents taught us to give, that deflects responsibility. I remained silent, giving her space to continue. I was so focused on what I wanted that I never considered your right to choose. I participated in violating your privacy and bodily autonomy, and I am deeply sorry. She paused, meeting my eyes directly. I understand if you cannot forgive me. I am working on forgiveness, I said honestly. For myself as much as for you. But trust will take longer to rebuild. I would like to try, she said. Without our parents' involvement. They have reached out to you, I asked. Amanda nodded. They sent a formal apology letter drafted by their lawyer. It was all about how sorry they were for getting caught, not for what they did. They still believe they were justified. That sounds familiar, I said with a sad smile. I have set boundaries with them too, Amanda admitted. Michael and I are in therapy, working on building a healthier foundation for our future family. I do not want to perpetuate their patterns. We parted with a tentative plan to speak monthly, a careful rebuilding of sisterhood on new, more equal terms. I maintained my decision not to resume contact with my parents, a boundary that brought both grief and relief. A year after the confrontation in my apartment, I attended a small gathering at Amanda and Michael's home in Chicago to celebrate the news that their adoption application had been approved. They had been matched with a pregnant teenager who had chosen them to raise her child. As I watched my sister radiant with joy that came from creating family through choice and consent, rather than coercion, I reflected on my own journey from dutiful daughter to self-advocate. The painful rupture with my parents had forced me to develop emotional muscles I never knew I possessed. Each boundary I established, each time I honored my own needs without apology. I grew stronger and more comfortable in my autonomy. My career flourished as I brought my authentic self to my work. I began dating Jordan, an architectural photographer, who showed me what respect truly looked like in a relationship, asking for consent in both small and significant matters. Most importantly, I had learned that family is not determined solely by blood, but by respect, care, and the freedom to be your true self without condition or coercion. True love, whether familial or romantic, never demands bodily sacrifice, only offers choice. Standing in my sister's kitchen that day, I felt peace settle around me like a comfortable shawl. The path to healing was neither straight nor easy, but it was mine chosen freely and walked with integrity. What would you do if your family tried to control your body choices? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more authentic stories about standing up for yourself, even.com, when it feels impossible. Remember, sometimes the family we choose gives us the strength to set boundaries with the family we were born into. Thank you for listening, and may you always honor your truth.